Hello there. This Tory government is in total confusion about wind power, and the Tory backbench tail is now wagging the Sunak dog. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. While the Tory politicians use onshore wind power as an internal political football, they are failing to answer the actual scientific question of whether onshore wind turbines are a good solution. All that seems to matter to them at the moment is, we've got an energy problem, so we'd better be seen to be doing something about it, even if it's not the best use of investment or public money. And Labour is also happy to kick that wind turbine football about if it helps to embarrass or even unseat the Tory government. Now, the bottom line is, if the wind is not blowing, then it wouldn't matter how many millions of wind turbines you have, you'd still have zero energy generated from them. Now, I took a look at a couple of these National Grid real-time reporting websites, and as far as I could see, they all lump onshore and offshore wind power together as one entity. The first thing we should see is separate stats for each to get a much clearer picture. That would then tell us the real viability of onshore wind. Now, I'm sure the data exists somewhere, but it does not seem to be readily available. But I wonder how many MPs have actually asked to see those sorts of comparisons themselves. Then there's the land. Turbines have to be spread out to be efficient. So those people lucky enough to own lots of land in the right place can now just sit back and take the rent. And those that set these wind farms up get a set price by contract for their output for many years. During which time, if the price being paid by the markets is less than that set price, the taxpayer gives them the difference. But if the price is higher, then they pay the difference to the government. They are protected from fluctuations in the markets, and any losses are socialised out to the taxpayer. Does that sound like a business taking a risk with their own money to you? No, more like nationalisation by proxy. Now, Bloomberg reported back in July that the UK government was looking to close a loophole that allowed wind farm operators to game that system so they could take advantage of surging energy prices and so not be forced to pay the extra back to the government. They take the subsidies in the low-price times and keep the profit in the high-price times. And everyone thinks the oil and gas companies are always the bad guys. Now, energy prices are really high right now, so if you get a wind farm up and running pretty sharpish, your 10 or 15-year contract could have a high set price for your energy output. That makes just about any project viable right now. Then if energy prices start to go down in future years, you're subsidised by the taxpayer in a falling market. This is not energy security, it's energy farce. We need a new UK Parliament sovereignty law, framed in such a way that it makes it hard to sneak us back into the EU single market. With the increasing threat that a future government will sneak the UK into the EU or its single market via the back door, we need a UK Parliament Sovereignty Act that would make it illegal to allow any foreign entity to gain any legal hold over us going forwards. That would remove the chances of rule by facts from Brussels via partial or complete membership of the single market and any form of ECJ jurisdiction over us. But Acts of Parliament can be repealed, you will say. What's to stop a future Labour government repealing that act and taking the UK back into the EU single market, you would ask? Well, I would look at using the same trick that the Human Rights Act 1998 uses. Because in that act, it states that all new bills going before Parliament must have a statement from a minister before its second reading saying that the new bill is compatible with the European Convention on Human Rights. Or conversely, that the minister can't make a statement that the new bill is compatible with the ECHR, and without that statement on it, the bill will not go to its second reading. So if you were to put forward a bill to, for example, leave the ECHR, it would be difficult to argue that it was in compliance with the ECHR. So the statement would have to be that effectively it wasn't in compliance with the Human Rights Convention, but we're going to press ahead with it anyway. Something that would attract a lot of negative opinion from the press and give the opposition lots of ammunition. The same with repealing the Human Rights Act itself. And any attempt to remove that requirement for that statement from the front of future bills would have the opposition and the human rights campaigners up in arms, claiming the government was about to reintroduce child labour and debtors' prisons and the like. That system effectively prevents future Parliament tinkering with the Human Rights Convention and the Human Rights Act, by making it look like anyone attempting to do so is intending to do damage to the human rights of UK citizens. Even when the ECHR is evidently working against the interest of the UK, as it is over the English Channel new arrivals. And that Section 19 of the Human Rights Act might be why there's no progress on leaving the ECHR. Because it would take a brave PM and Home Secretary to introduce a bill but be forced to openly admit they cannot make a statement of compatibility with the ECHR but are going ahead with it anyway. Cue human rights activist outrage and Joe Biden as well as the EU sticking their hooters in. So we need to copy that process for parliamentary sovereignty. What we need is a new Act of Parliament that stipulates that for every bill going forwards, the minister concerned has to state before the second reading of the bill that the new bill will not impinge on parliamentary sovereignty and will not result in any foreign power or entity having any control or jurisdiction over us. Or they would be forced to state that they can't make that statement, which will be interpreted as they intend to sell us down the river. Now let's talk about education. Take it away, Richard.
Thank you, Jeff, and good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies, good morning, gentlemen, and anyway, why do we send our children to school 5 days a week? What exactly is it that they are learning there? A tertiary scan of courses and subjects available for GCSE students will reveal a lot about the function of the education system today. GCSE citizenship will give you a clue, but the source material and clear green rainbow agenda and critical race theory squeezed into the lessons at every available opportunity screams indoctrination of our young. Now, I'm a live and let live kind of person, as long as everyone lives the way I want them to. But anyway, we really need to be very weary of these educational establishments that are no more than that which Pink Floyd highlighted so many years ago. Meat factories where the pupils are turned into mince meat and remoulded away from their true nature. Have we learnt nothing from our Floydian education? I have seen firsthand the danger of sending a child off to higher education, and the damage done to them once exposed to, or should I say overexposed to, far left-wing ideology. One child left for university, another returned. But the indoctrination has now been ramped up and injected into primary schools. So the most impressionable are being stamped and quantified before they can even recite their times tables. Their very identities as individuals are being thrown into doubt as soon as they enter the classroom, as the teacher follows the curriculum, and this curriculum plants seeds of doubt into the natural state of the child, just like the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and now young Eve identifies as a serpent herself. These are just children, for goodness sake. Why must they be subjected to toxic left-wing ideology at such a young age? A school's function used to be to teach children how to read, write, and understand basic mathematics. and no, I will never call it math. But today, the basics are secondary in priority, and the message comes first. Yes, our children have become less discriminating, but such a virtuous thing has been exploited and stretched to the point of naivety, and they are now incapable of discernment and instead are readily compliant to the values of the system and the elite, and will pass on those values that they learnt at such a young age onto their children. You can see where this is going in this hideous satanic agenda. Anyway, back over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Richard. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.